What is up, Enclave? Back with another walkthrough. This time on the twins. I think their name is Franz and Hanz or something like that. And yeah, awesome! Another conveyor belt boss. And I slept through this testing, but I watched a ton of videos. I talked to Cuddles about it, talked to Jarwin about it. I've got a pretty good idea of how the fight works after watching it enough times. I'll give you my best as to walk you through exactly how it works. But honestly, I think if you just watch the fight from beginning to end, you'll probably get a pretty good idea of what's actually going on. But there are a couple mechanics that I will go over with you.
3, 2.
And like I said, we have Jace the DK from Topped Off, and this is Topped Off's beta group, so we'll get a pretty good opportunity to see a high-level group get a crack at it. Immediately, what you'll notice is that the bosses share health, and the two tanks pick them up and separate them. Now, the Skullcracker that just went out can target a random melee, and supposedly it was supposed to be a tank mechanic that wasn't quite working properly on the beta fight, and it was actually hitting random melee, and what the melee were doing is they were running away whenever he cast Skullcracker, but it didn't seem that bad. Now what ends up happening is Hanz hops away, Franz actually does what's called a suplex to the tank, which then makes the tank stick in place for like 15 or 20 seconds, unable to move, and then we're basically just dealing with Pop-Tarts rolling down the conveyor belt, and you've got to avoid them. If you sit in the middle like that, they will hit you. You can't do that. The DK is able to do so with AMZ and some cooldowns, but as you see right there, he got really low on life. It's not a strategy that I would suggest unless you have Cloak of Shadows or something like that. You probably can just blink through them, or Shadow Step, or Displacer Beast, or Teleport. Any number of those things will probably work. That's probably how you should be handling that mechanic. Hitboxes were way too small on beta. That's obviously getting fixed. I actually think melee is going to be pretty good on this fight, especially rogues and warriors, just because casters have to move so much. I just think that melee didn't quite understand the mechanic. I think given time, melee is going to be really good at this fight. Taking a look at what's actually happening, Hanz is just hopping around. The telegraph for where he's going to land was supposed to be showing up, but it was actually like spawning underneath the conveyor belt sometimes, so that's why you can't really tell where Hanz is supposed to be hopping, but on live you should be able to. One of the things I got from the feedback on the forums was that this fight was really buggy and a lot of the mechanics just weren't quite working. Like the camera you see up there is getting bugged, but mainly you just want to stay on these tracks in the middle where the conveyor is not. That way you're not moving. As long as you're on the metal beams between the conveyors, they're not going to move. Now the conveyors may look like they've stopped at a given point in time. From what I understand, the conveyors never actually stopped. They may look like they've stopped, but they're always moving. And then what ends up happening is Hanz actually becomes the active boss, and Franz starts doing his other thing. And now you've got to deal with the smashes. Now they may seem random to you, but they're not. They're moving in a pattern, and they only have a set number of things that they can do. Now, the one that they're on now is going to be the next target, so they need to move out of that. And a new pattern is going to pop up here in a second. So basically, he'll never hit the same thing twice. As long as you move to a location that was currently lit up, he's not going to hit it again, for the most part. So that's a pretty good indicator of how to, avoid these things. Just move to a spot that was currently lit up. He's probably not going to hit it twice. He's not really supposed to jump around as much as he was. That was kind of bugged. But yeah, just take a look, guys. He's really never hitting the same thing twice. So if you were just to move to a spot that was lit up last time, you're probably okay the next time. I don't think it's that hard to avoid, especially with speed boost. Shouldn't be that difficult. They won't one-shot you, but there's some other AoE damage going out, and if you're low and they hit you, you will die. On Mythic, those things probably will take you out. Remember, if you're on the belts and you jump, you'll actually move faster forward or backwards. And if you're on the little metal platforms in between, you can actually just stand still. So I think that the tank wasn't quite taking it properly. He is now. Notice how he's actually stood on the metal band so that he's not moving. The melee should also be doing that. They should be on that metal band in the middle so that they're not moving unless they absolutely have to. There's no reason that you have to fight the conveyor belt on this fight. Those metal bands in between are there for a reason, and you need to be using those. Notice how all the range are stacked on that metal band. the melee need to be doing that too. And once again, the suplex is going out on the tanks. That's causing the tanks to be stuck in place for 15 seconds at a time. It also hits quite hard and causes the tanks to have to swap. Skullcracker just went out and hit Sengaga for about 60% of his life. It should only be hitting the tanks, I think, but like I said on beta, it was hitting everybody. Other than that, that's pretty much the entirety of the fight. It's really an easy encounter if you can avoid getting smashed by things. And as far as the Pop-Tarts that come down the platforms, there's absolutely no reason why you should be getting hit by those other than the fact that you want to do more damage and you're overzealous. But honestly, we're all heroic raiders. We can move to the left and the right and avoid those if we need to. So that's really the only thing that you need to be worried about. There's supposed to be a telegraph that one of them does on the ground that lets you know that he's about to land there, like a death from above, but he just did it. You need to move. Other than that, only one of them will be active at a time. Whenever the conveyor belt actually goes active, he'll hop back up to the other platform, and then he'll hop back down on somebody and do a death from above, and you've just got to avoid that. This to me seems really easy. Look at the hole. I mean, he has plenty of time to move to it. He's just waiting to the last second. Not that hard. Again, here, you could AMZ this if you get caught. Only eat one of them. The hole was over there. He chose not to go to it because he wants to do damage, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, there's just no reason to take the damage if you don't want to. You can easily see the hole coming. It's to the right. You can even sit on that band in the middle and not move and then wait to the end to move. That's it. The phase is over. Nobody died. The other thing I want you to take a look at is just watch people's health as far as a healer. There's not a lot to heal if people don't fuck up. So the fact that you can't move, I mean, cast while move is not that big a deal as long as people aren't total assholes and die to things. But this portion of the fight seems really easy, and the only reason why the mage and the shaman got low is because I think the guy had death from above, or they either ate a Pop-Tart that they shouldn't have. And if you don't know what I mean by Pop-Tarts, obviously I just mean the things that are coming. I think he got skull cracked. I think that's why the DK just died. That's not supposed to happen. But yeah, now at this point, we can watch the rest of the fight. We've already seen all the mechanics multiple times. I just want you guys to focus on the patterns that the actual Pop-Tarts are doing, or the muffin cutters, whatever you want to call them. They never hit the same spot they just hit. So as long as you aren't in a lit up one and then you move to a lit up one, you're good. And this one is obviously a really easy pattern. It just goes from north to south. And again, you don't have to fight the conveyor belt if you don't want to. If you want to sit in a little metal band in the middle and not move, you can. You only have to move whenever the circle that's glowing is next to you, and you can just sidestep to the right and then move right back to the band. This one's a little tricky, but again, it's only going to hit. It's never going to hit a glowing area that was just glowing. I think, you know, if this group were to have one or two more pulls with this, they'd be able to do it way cleaner. Because as you can see, there's really not much happening other than the death from above, which should have an icon, it just doesn't. The Skullcracker that he just did, which, again, I think is a bleeding debuff or something like that. The tank's supposed to get it, but the tank wasn't. Hopefully that's fixed. And then the Pop-Tarts and the cookie cutters that fall from the sky. Pretty easy fight in my opinion. As long as you guys are on your A game and you've watched this video and you understand how the actual patterns work on that, we should be able to kill this in, you know, 1 or 2 attempts. And again, notice it's never hitting the same spots twice in a row. So as long as you pay attention to that, these bosses are going to die really quickly. Alright guys, that's Hanz and Franz, and that's another boss down. See you next time.